For the longest time, men have based their confidence on three things: not being a woman, not being gay, and being needed in a patriarchal society. Now that all of those structures are starting to not matter anymore, it's exposing the fact that a lot of men are actually extremely insecure because they based their entire identity around concepts that don't hold any weight. This is why now we see the most insecure men double downing on the misogyny and the homophobia, because that's all they ever had to make them feel good about themselves. And then they project all of that inner turmoil on women and queer people because they were too ignorant to build an identity outside of the one that society told.
And it's not even about the fact that the society told them. It's the men that set these structures that they themselves cannot uphold themselves to, because now they're saying, gone are the days where now you had to do this, gone are the days, rah, 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 rah. It is because they're realizing that the structures that they are building or have built is collapsing. It can no longer sustain itself. The minute you introduce ways of collapsing, of building a new roles or new system, you have to come to the demise of it. And believe you, as much as they are working so hard, they're not going to back down without a fight, obviously. They're not going to just say, oh, well, it is what it is. Let's just accept defeat. That's not how men work, especially if they are white men. They're not going to just say, let's just leave these Africans what, despite the fact that Africans are fighting. If we can see one prosperous country in Africa, country, I don't know why I whistle every time I say country, 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 country. Oh well. Especially if one country in Africa can develop independently, for real now, not like the false independence that they give us, like for real, real. And they develop on their own and they stand on their own. Do you think other countries, and another one does it, and another one does it? We will see it. We will see it, especially now. We are beginning to see that it's beginning to build that momentum for like France, for example. We're going to see the collapse of France soon. It's going to be the first European country to collapse. Other countries are working overtime, renewing contracts, going through all of this to ensure that they have enough to, I don't think they're going to build European countries the way they did, especially those ones that built their wealth upon the backs of black people. Although we know that the system is going to take a lot of us before it collapses, but the men have built their entire character, their own way of existing in the system, because they thought that they're going to always be in power, especially white men. Their obsession with power is something I just cannot comprehend, because they're just so obsessed with power. They just want power all the time. So now that this thing, the structure that they've built all the time, every time, whiteness is not enough, because even whiteness, we don't even understand the construct of it. And anyone can see, and even there's always going to be those that are still stuck, still in La La Land when it comes to white people, but the majority of the others are just going to find themselves. And at this point, even myself, I'm like, I'm not willing to help anyone elevate themselves, especially if you're not willing to elevate yourself. It does not make sense to me. It will never make sense to me that you cannot, let me think, that you cannot sustain yourself outside the walls of whiteness, that you need white people to help you. It does not make sense. And if you cannot exist outside of the walls of whiteness, then why are we talking? And I guess this is why people would say to me, oh, you don't have empathy. Why would I have empathy Empathy, mine is selective. I'm very selective about whom I give my time to, whom I give my affections to, whom, because it's energy. I have to reserve my energy. I have to make sure that this energy that I am with this body of mine, like especially even the people that I associate myself with, because I don't like going out. I don't like people that much. I'm a severe introvert, right? So I know that I don't want people consuming my energy. I don't, if I'm gonna care that much. I learned that from my father after he passed away, because I did not want people to consume my energy as much as my father consumed my energy. So I become very selective, and it's worse now because I cared. I had a friend, and then the betrayal sort of like was the last straw of being very, very, very strict. So you have to do that. You have to build yourself. And that's something men do not like in general. Self internal work. They do not like it, especially white men. Tell them about working internally. They will not adhere to that. It's like you're speaking Japanese. They don't understand. They literally do not understand you. They feel like, oh, you're trying to strip them. Meanwhile, the system is literally collapsed. It's not going to be the same, despite how many black people that are helping them, though it's necessary to get the ball rolling so that people, even I know that, it can get bad. We need to be it's going to get bad, and like bad, bad, bad before it get worse, because there are black people doing this. And even at time, I feel like my country is not giving the vibe that needs to give, you know like my country is close to whiteness and the white ideologies and the white symbolism, a lot of these white things. And now when I look at it now, I'm like, who are we outside of the bubble of whiteness? Who are we South Africans? Who are we outside of that ideal conditioning of being a black South African woman or a black South African man? Who are you? Like, where are you without land, without anything? Who are you? Huh? What are you willing to do for yourself to get yourself out of this situation? Hmm? And men, that is why we are here. That is why most of them are having an identity crisis. This is why some of them are unaliving themselves on an alarming rate, especially black men, on an alarming rate, because they having such a deep crisis that everything that they held on to, that they should take care of the women now are working, the women are taking, because come to think of it, a lot of these things they weren't doing it, they just, especially men of color, black men, they benefited because they were men, and by default they were men, but the system does not cater to them because they are black people, they are black men. So they just give and take. Okay, so for me it's just like the system needs to go. We are tired and we need a new one, and hopefully the world, or the planet can restore itself, because it's been going through a lot. It has too much blood. We've done too much harm to it. Just too many things. I guess the Mother Earth is just tired of us, and we should just go extinct at this point.